I would bet that you're using AI to help market your veterinary practice. And I have a quick question for you to think about before we begin, because I think this is going to have a tremendous impact in how you grow your practice. Because I know I'm using AI more than ever, and I'm getting better results than ever. But are you creating more content that's turning into more clients, or are you just using AI to kind of complete your to-do list? Because most practice owners that I see using AI, and it's super easy to spot nowadays. It's probably going to get to the point soon where you won't be able to spot it as easily, but we'll talk about that here in just a second. But probably you're not seeing an increase in compliance. You're not seeing an increase in visits. You're probably getting more done, but it's not actually turning into more revenue for you. So today's episode, we're going to dive into AI and how to use it for marketing, how I use AI to get tons more done. That's translating into more business growth, and how you can use these same systems and principles when it comes to delegating tasks to your employees who do your marketing, or if you're in charge of your marketing for your practice. We're going to show you how to get more done so that it acts like you have a team that is there ready to do your marketing for you. It is a fantastic tool, but I think it is a tool that in the hands of somebody who's really skilled is going to see far better results. And when I say results, I mean new clients coming in the door to your practice. What AI is being used for a lot of times that I see as a major problem is that it's being used for a substitute for strategy, for smart thinking, and strategic insight. You're basically delegating all of the humanity that your practice needs to AI, and this is the wrong use for it. I think that's actually hurting your practice. So if you want to grow your business, do more, better work in terms of creating assets and content and all of the things that you need to be doing with less time that actually drive clients into your practice, this is going to be a really, really helpful episode. Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. My name is Brandon Brashears, and I am excited to talk to you about this episode. I have purposefully not done an episode on AI because I've really wanted to dive into applications and test a bunch of case study data. So right now, I see AI being used all over the place. And unfortunately, I see AI just being kind of delegated to for practice marketing. And I think this is actually a huge problem just because you're basically cutting yourself off at the knees. You don't have any strategic advantage over another practice that is also using AI. So we're going to talk about specific principles that are going to help you to transform the marketing that you're doing in your practice. We're going to help you to elevate. Notice I use the AI word. That is super easy to identify who's using AI and not. But I think when it comes to how we're going to approach AI, I think you need to think about AI as a junior marketing employee. So it's like you have a person in your practice that can do amazing things, but it depends on how well you instruct them, the guidelines that you give them, the strategy that you give them. And it's really only as effective as you give it the constraints to be effective. You need clarity, you need strategy, and we're going to dive into how to do that better. Right now, if I go into my inbox, I can look through and see who's using AI for their newsletters and who is not using them, who's sending out marketing messages, who's doing Facebook posts. And it is blatantly obvious to see who is using AI and who isn't. And my hope for you is that you use this as a tool that's going to really drive more clients in the door, but make your marketing personal to you instead of making it ChatGPT's veterinary marketing agency. You need to give it strategy. You need to give it constraints. But if you're not using AI in your practice, I think you absolutely should be. One thing that I think you should be doing, hands down 100%, is you should be paying for the premium ChatGPT in your practice if you're not already. And the reason for that is it has deep research, it has new AI agents that are released, and tons of other additional functionality. I prefer ChatGPT. I know that there's a ton of other models out there. You have Claude, you have Grok, there's all kinds of other things. I would just suggest probably ChatGPT for most practices, simply because it is most mainstream. You have a lot of ways to use it. It integrates well with automation tools like Zapier, and you're able to really save your team a massive amount of time. Things that I think AI can do really well for your veterinary practice is things like blog posts, social media content ideas, newsletters, newsletter ideas, landing pages, repurposing content, like going from video to then creation of a blog, to creation of email, to creating social posts around that. And I think this really is where you're going to want to figure out what you are good at and kind of your core content strategy. I think that as far as time savers go, it has the most impact in creating basically variations of what you're doing. I don't know if you've noticed recently, but with every episode, we typically have different types of lead magnets, tools, resources, and additional things that we're creating that are actually truly helpful, and they're great resources that you can use. The cool part about this is that in creating my podcast, I'm able to take the thing that I create and then create variations of it, whether that's workbooks that go along with the CSR training episode that I did, things like that, that you can really create more value out of what you are making. I do think it is important that you are actively involved in your strategy, in your ideas, and also, more importantly, in the goals that you have with your marketing. I think what you need to really consider is that AI gives you leverage. It is something that you can use and direct without having to basically dig the ditch. When I was young, my dad owned a construction company, and my first job was digging the ditch. And so I would go out and dig what's called futures because he was an electrician. And so it didn't matter who was digging the hole. It mattered that the hole existed, and then we could put the pipe in, put the wires in, and do all of the more important, difficult stuff. That's what I think about when it comes to a lot of what AI can do. I know that it is good at analyzing data, pulling out insights, and things like that, but you need to give it strategic direction so that it can be used to the fullest. And I also think it's really important that you just think about when you're creating a large volume of content, that it needs to be something that is actually going to be useful, beneficial, easy to consume, entertaining, give some type of value very, very quickly. And I think that is becoming more and more important, that it is able to be distilled and applied quickly. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits that you can have when it comes to AI. Specifically, have a starting point that comes from you. If you're using ChatGPT to say, for example, what should I write a blog post about? And it's like, here's 4 topics. And you're like, okay, let's do dentistry. Write me a post about dentistry. And it writes you a crappy post about dentistry that says, like, here's 3 things you need to do to make sure your pet is healthy. It doesn't offer value to anybody because it is base level, it's boring, and it's not going to be helpful. Generally, people will just gloss over that and not even pay attention to it at all. So I think when you're creating content, you need to offer insight, you need to offer experience, and you need to offer community, things that people can't duplicate through ChatGPT. Otherwise, I mean, you have to really consider this, that ChatGPT is your competition. And back in the early 2012s and 2013s and stuff, Dr. Google was the big villain of the time, right? Where people were losing clients to Dr. Google. ChatGPT is going to be a million times worse because it's going to have informational access that is going to be mostly accurate. The perception will be that it is more accurate than it likely is. And so you're now competing against that, where people just want information quickly. They're going to go to ChatGPT. They're going to go to Gemini. They're going to go to Grok, whatever. And so knowing that, you have to create content that is going to basically fall outside of things that are then duplicatable within those apps natively, because it's far easier to get context and ask questions and really get insight out of these apps. So number one, you need to be in charge of the content, the strategy, and the plan that comes along with AI. And if you're not doing that, then you're immediately replaceable by ChatGPT. And when ChatGPT 5 comes out here in just a little bit, there is a high probability that it is going to be exceptional at everything. And so the reality is, more and more people are using this. More and more people are going to continue to rely on this. And so you need to be distinct and different. And the way that I think about this a lot of times too is when we're making something, whether it's content, whether it's emails, the value can come from the organization and presentation of this information to our niche audiences, for example. So offering timely advice, timely insights, kind of meeting people where they are before they go out to look for it, that's very valuable. Like the way that I think about this specifically with AI, and I'm trying to kind of develop this a little bit more, but it's like you get a pile of 2x4s delivered to a property, right? There is the potential to build a house from that, but you have to organize it in a way that makes it either beautiful or ugly or high quality or low quality. The construction of these items is really what provides the value. And so when we have content that we're creating, we're taking ideas and insights and helpful tools and we're organizing them in a way that can then be consumed so that it provides value and context. And I think we have to be the guides for our clients to give them direction, and especially around things that people don't know that they don't know, right? So again, kind of trying to meet people preemptively with the needs that you know that they're going to have based on your experience, educating people preemptively based on the market segment that they're in. All of these types of things are going to be very valuable, and it's going to be difficult for somebody to basically duplicate, especially experience and insight. And I can't stress that enough. But the beauty is that with AI, we can now, for example, create a single video. From that video, we can take the transcript, we can create a blog post from it that is basically written in the same tone because it's being derived from the content that we fed it rather than just making something up. And then from that blog post, you can create social posts, you can create emails. And so now a singular piece of content is leveraged and turned into dozens of pieces of content on different placements that are going to be native and appropriate for each of those placements. I think this is a high value use of AI in your veterinary practice. It makes writing emails super easy. It makes sending emails super easy because the blank page problem is always difficult. But that repurposing of content is incredibly, incredibly important. I think too that when you're creating content, you need to be training it on you. You don't want to have it go and create its own version of things because number one, it's often very times agreeable. It's easy to spot. Right now, it probably is going to get better, but for now, it's easy to spot. And the other thing too that when ChatGPT 5, for example, comes out, and it is really good, and you're not able to differentiate between ChatGPT 5 and another person. Like if everybody is a 10 out of 10 level marketer, how do you stand out? Because if everybody has this tool, it makes it less valuable simply because now the standard is everybody is incredibly skilled. So how do you stand out there? And I think these same principles apply even when the models get better, when the outputs get better. And the name of the game, I think, in the future will be differentiation. Like what makes you different, your brand value, and how basically can you be unique in a world of sameness where everybody is creating expert level blog content and expert level video content with AI generation and video tools now where AI video is indistinguishable from real video. And so I think it becomes more and more important that authenticity matters, brand matters, and intent really, really matters. So here's my kind of best use cases where AI, I think you should be using it in your practice. And then we'll cover some of the things where I think you absolutely should be not using it and where hopefully you're going to avoid it. So number one is ideation, just coming up and brainstorming. Blog topics, post hooks, email subjects, content calendars, like, again, giving it a specific direction, but coming up with ideas. And I usually like to do a list of 20 to 30 ideas and just start to go from there. And so idea creation, ideation, content drafting, creating rough drafts. Again, this is like doing the digging of the hole, right? It doesn't matter who digs the hole, it needs to be dug. Starting with a blank page can be intimidating a lot of times, so starting with the content draft. So rough drafts for blogs, rough draft for emails, rough draft for social content, doing things like copywriting for landing pages, for example. Initial copy, layouts, wireframes, things like that. And then obviously repurposing of content. Repurposing of content is a no-brainer. If you have a pillar strategy where you're going to create, like, my ideal thing would be create short form videos that are very focused on trends and audience building, specifically within the niche that you're looking for. And then also have a long form piece of content. And in that long form content, you're really diving deep, building an audience and attracting the right types of clients for you. But I think the benefit of that is, especially with the long form content, you can really go into the weeds of these deep rabbit hole topics that people get into when they're in market for things like, for example, TPLO. You could do a video that was everything you need to know, the ultimate TPLO guide for pet owners. And I don't think I've seen any veterinary hospitals do this, but really start off with who's, like, just thinking about this, who's eligible for this? When should you consider TPLO? What are the alternatives? What are the success rates? What are the pitfalls? What are rehab and things looking like? But if you're giving people all of this information, especially around topics that are high value, you're going to have a lot more context for it. You could take that long form video, upload a transcript into AI, create blog posts, create emails, create social posts, use a tool like Opus Clip to put it into a bunch of short videos. You could put it into Pod Squeeze, and that does all of the content production for you. And then you could take it into ChatGPT, upload the transcript, and say, make me a TPLO owner's guide that is a bulleted checklist or PDF guide that helps them navigate the decision process. When is it time to do TPLO? Like, there's just so many things that you can do from a repurposing content standpoint that just tremendously cuts down on the time. The other thing that you can use it for that I've seen a lot of success with is using the deep research model for research assistance. So if you want to pull, like, a nutrition plan for overweight dogs, like, give me all of the best research for it, create a plan, and then we can use that as a tool that goes along with clients who bring their pet in and they are overweight, and then talk about those types of things. Something like that, right? But, like, this really, I think, are right now the best use cases for this. I do also like it for image creation. A lot of times, I think the image creation is getting much, much better. Video creation is really interesting, and I think it can be fun. But I do think it's really important that you understand where AI falls short. And the reason why I think it falls short is because everybody's using it right now, and it's blatantly obvious when people are using it. If I know that something was written by ChatGPT, I usually will gloss over it. Especially with social posts, I see people posting, and I'm like, geez, this is AI. I don't know that it is true in terms of, like, the claims that they're making. Again, it's written by AI and not by you. So here's a few things that I think you really have to be careful for. So AI doesn't know who your clients are, who your offers are, or your brand tone. Now, you can train it to do those things and it'll get very good at it, but it's not going to be able to know, like, what your clients are concerned with. It doesn't know that maybe your compliance is down because your clients are concerned about the economy right now, or that the tariffs have really impacted them, or that, they are considering, whatever is these different market forces that your insights have, that AI just simply can't replicate. Now, it can try to do its best, and you can train it and things, and it's going to do better the more you train it. But it truly lacks context. It doesn't know what's working in your practice. It doesn't know who your ideal clients are. Even if you tell it, it's still not going to know them. And it's not going to know what your clients care about, specifically your regional clients or your ideal clients. And if you have a very specific client avatar, it's important. Again, you can train the models to write content around this, and the more sample content that you give it, the better it's going to be. But if you run it unfiltered, it's going to just create consistently generic, fluffy, or even misleading content. And that is brand damage, in my opinion. If you're just pushing out AI posts and it's generic, you're going to get no engagement. It's, I think, going to probably harm your practice more than it will benefit it, just because people are going to ignore it. And again, if people don't interact and you publish something, you're testing things, I think it's okay to test. If it's not popular, nobody sees it, there's not really any harm done, but it's not going to help you to grow like it could. I think the truth is that when you start producing things that are not relevant to your brand, it's actually a bigger liability to your brand than not posting anything, in my opinion. You have to make sure that you are training AI just like you would an employee. And so it takes constant prompts, context, and correction. And it needs to be treated like it is an employee that is really in need of specific instructions. If you're not getting good results too, that might be a very clear indicator that you probably need some help with education on like what you're looking for. You probably need some help with leadership and delegation, just because if you're not able to give AI the context that it needs to be successful in creating things, it's like a great indication, hey, probably is a good time to brush up on my communication skills. Because if I can't give AI a clear prompt and get the output that I'm looking for, it's likely a problem with the instructions. So, to help with that context problem, and I think that's probably the most, like the thing that I'm seeing most often, is that the the content that is being generated, the output that's being generated, is just not focused enough. So, to get better results from your AI prompting, you need to have the right strategy. So, number one, you need to know your strategy first. And if you're not sure what to do, I would really suggest becoming a better expert on marketing. And so, my guess is that if you were talking to ChatGPT trying to diagnose something, you would give it very clear insights and differentials and things like that I would have no context for. So if I'm like, my dog has a hurt hip, what's wrong with it? It's like, well, it could be 5 of these things. But if you gave it your clinical background, you're going to get an output that's going to make sense to you that then you can go and research. It is the same thing with me creating marketing pieces, because I've been doing marketing for so long. I know specifically what I'm looking for. I know how to tailor it in a way that makes sense. And so if you're not happy with the output that you're getting, or it's not giving you the results that you'd look for, you need to be the strategic mind that can guide it so it can create things that you're looking for. I hope that makes sense. But if you and I were to go to ChatGPT and want to create some landing page copy, I guarantee you I could create content that would be better converting than you could, just because I have more context and knowledge about marketing. So I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I know that I would like things to be in a direct response style, and I would like these headlines to highlight these pain points and take this section and make it more about an emotional tilt. Talk about these benefits, these pain points. Like those kinds of inputs into your prompts are going to give you far better results than be like, make me a landing page about dental procedures, which is going to be generic and fluffy. It's going to be better than nothing as long as it's brand consistent, accurate. But it's going to probably have far greater output if you can kind of use this framework. So you have to have a clear goal in mind. And again, this is a part with marketing in general that people fall into this trap. People are like, okay, I want a landing page that's going to make people be aware of the solution, educate them, tell them where we're located, also include branding, and then I want them to sign up and pay in full, right? And it's like, this landing page is doing 50 different things. Typically, anytime we're creating pieces of content, marketing, it needs to have a primary goal. If it has secondary objectives that are just cool to measure and see what's happening, then that's great. But you have to have a clear goal in mind. Anytime we start with marketing, we think about the end in mind. What do we want to have happen here? Whether it's you want somebody to subscribe on YouTube or follow your Facebook page or follow your Instagram page or follow you on TikTok, whatever that primary goal is, we need to have that. So this piece of content should create this result. That's where we start every single time. Step number 2 is know your brand voice and your positioning. So what do you want to be when it comes to your practice and how your clients perceive you? Your brand voice needs to be consistent with pricing, experience, all of those type of qualitative things, and positioning in the marketplace relative to your competitors, and then also positioning relative to how you want to be perceived when it comes to exclusivity or status or value or convenience. All of these types of inputs really, really help you to create a focus that is then going to give you better results. You also need to know what's working in your funnel right now. And so your AI outputs need to work accordingly. So if you're creating content and it's doing a great job of getting views on videos, but it's not translating into clients, like it's important to understand that if we create more of this, we're probably going to get more of the same results. If we want different results, we need to adjust the basic premise of the content that we're putting out. So first, we have the strategy. What's the goal? Then we give AI the prompt. Give it the right instructions. Give it the right context. Tell it the brand voice, the positioning. Tell it the goal that we're having in mind. We need to make sure that it is written in a style that we like. We need to give it an objective. And this is something that I find very helpful is if I'm creating a landing page, for example, landing pages are for typically one purpose, and that's to drive conversion. And so if I say, I need help making a landing page for a Cohat dental procedure, I want the primary call to action to be book a dental call now. I want the tone of this to be authoritative but friendly and warm. I also would like it to be conversational. Here are the major pain points that we have. People are afraid of anesthesia. People are afraid of cost. People are afraid of poor results. Like put in fears. Tell it here's what the before and after looks like and what clients can expect. And then also, I want this to be formatted in a direct response style. And oftentimes too, I'll throw in there, and I would like it to be in the style of, and I'll put in a famous marketer that I've studied, right? And so then I'm training it to give me a very specific output. From there, it does that digging of the hole, what I call it, right? We just got to move the dirt. We got to write the thing. We got to create it. It gives me a starting place. And from there, I then take it and I tailor it. I edit it. A lot of times on the first edit, I'll say, nope, I don't like this. Rewrite this section. I like this section. Rewrite this section. Be sure to highlight this pain point. And I use the insight and experience that I have. And in a veterinary practice, your experience and things specifically with respect to marketing, you're going to want to draw on the conversations that you have with pet owners. Like, what are their main questions? What are their concerns? Why do people decline certain work? Like that type of stuff is really, really valuable. So then once I have a good spot to edit, I will go in and edit aggressively and often. I want this to look like it is my work because I'm trying to create stuff that doesn't look like it's just a generic output. So that's, I think, really important. After we tailor it, we edit it, and it's ready to go, we then run the test and we check the results. And so is it achieving the goal that we set out to? And that's the really success that we're looking for. So did this thing work? Yes, no, why? And you can even put those insights into ChatGPT to get additional insights and ideas. But you need to update your strategy and your prompt based on outcomes. And so building on the success that you have and learning from failures, you're going to get better results over time. And the cool part is that I think that specifically with ChatGPT and probably creating different project folders within ChatGPT, you can really start to hone in on what's working and what's not. And then you have the search feature so you can see results. Typically, when I have clients that do things, whether it's content creation or emails or ads, or if they're doing anything typically on their own, what they'll do is just throw stuff against the wall, see what sticks. They don't have an intention going into it. They're just throwing stuff up, and then they don't really get the benefit of learning from failures or success. It just is, everything is kind of in the same pile. And I really think that with AI, you're able to have a solid place where all of your content can be. You can see the winners, you can see the results. And so really build a framework of reporting back on what's working and what's not, so that it can store that data and get better over time. Let's talk about a case study that you could test right away. And I think this is really timely because a lot of practices are seeing this in their schedules, where one day they'll be busy and the next day it'll be a ghost town. So use your email marketing system. If you don't have one, I have a great one. You can send me a message, Brandon at maverickdigitalmarketing.com, and I'll send you a link to my favorite marketing software. But if you want to send out a newsletter, and by the way, I think you should be sending out at least once a week, and possibly even more than once a week if possible. I know that's going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but especially with AI, there is no excuse anymore. That's like officially over. There's no excuse not to be emailing your list at least once a week, and actually providing value and engaging with your audience. So you want to send out a newsletter. Let's say it's on a day that's slow. You come in and the schedule is empty. Okay, let's come up with an offer to get people in for dental exams today. So we have all of these openings, all these doctors sitting around waiting for clients to come in the door. We don't have anybody in. Let's have AI help us draft headlines, create persuasive bullets, create subject lines. Here's what you need to plug in. So number one, what is the offer that we're trying for? So let's say we have a special. Today only, same day visit for dental exams. Does your pet have stinky breath? Are they having trouble chewing? Do they have loose teeth? Have you been putting this off for too long? Today is your lucky day because we have these things here, right? So talk about the offer available, talk about segments that are going to be receiving it. Specifically, if you can tailor the emails to segmented lists, talk about all of the problems that you're solving, describe the before and after, not just the physical before and after. Like they'll come in with dirty teeth and they'll leave with clean, shiny white teeth. That's not the only problem. You have the emotional angles, like you've been stressing because you should be taking your dog in. Finally, you're going to feel the relief of knowing everything is good. Talk about the benefits of long-term dental care for pets, that it's like one of the most important things for quality of life. Imagine being 12 years old and having no teeth, not being able to enjoy food, not be able to, all of the things associated with that. You're also going to want to plug in the tone that you're looking for, make it creative, make it funny, make it interesting. A lot of times too, I will suggest that it like gives me clickbait style headlines or emotional style headlines, or all of these different things, but you're able to quickly figure out ideas, pick the best ones, and adjust them so that it matches you and what you're willing to test. So I think a use case like that, it would be really interesting and easy to get good outputs in that way, and do a lot of the heavy lifting and turn your team in your practice into like the equivalent of a small marketing agency working in your practice. But again, you need to be the one that is driving it. And if you're not sure what to do or the types of questions to ask, then I would highly suggest that you, number one, invest a little bit in terms of educating yourself on marketing. And so listen to audiobooks. I always suggest people like Seth Godin. This is Marketing is probably one of his best books to start with. Alex Hormozy, $100 Million Leads, $100 Million Offers. Those books are fantastic. Can't recommend them enough. Books by Chris Do, The Win Without Pitching Manifesto. There's just tons and tons of books. But if you understand the strategy behind it, you can then architect the pieces that will help to execute that strategy. But you have to know what you're looking for. And again, like just how your clients don't know what they don't know, you also don't know what you don't know. So you need to be the strategic mind, and you're going to have to kind of become a little bit of a polymath. But if you don't know like certain principles around marketing, certain principles around direct response marketing, you're just not going to know the right questions to answer. I'm sorry, to ask, and so the answers you're going to get are going to be generic and fluffy. So I need you to start thinking about, like, you're a generalist that knows a lot about all of these types of subjects, and then when it makes sense, you have experts help you, but AI will be able to fill the gap a lot of times when it comes to really delivering the majority of this time consuming work for you. So don't let AI be the final editor. And I would say use it as a first draft tool, at least in its current state. And I think you're going to be able to very soon apply this, as it is an employee that's learning and improving over time in your practice, helping you to be far more efficient. But be an editor. Don't let it dictate your strategy just because it's going to be far too generic and give you poor results. The other thing that I see a lot of people doing that I think is a pitfall that you're going to want to avoid is that people become over reliant on it. And you lose that creativity muscle, and you also lose the ability to communicate well. So if ChatGPT goes down, it's not getting done, type of thing. You need to be able to still create things. You need to be able to do things from a creative standpoint. And I think that's probably one of the most interesting things, is that a lot of the jobs that people thought were going to be around forever, that were not replaceable, everybody's delegated to ChatGPT. And as a result, I think that there's going to be so much sameness when it comes to content. It's just going to be the same old stuff coming through. And being able to differentiate yourself by having unique creative takes, that will not be replaceable. And so you need to not become over reliant without feedback. So make sure that you're not just relying on it and becoming lazy, because that's going to be very, very easy here. The other thing that I think you should be really working to avoid is don't ignore performance insights. It's incredibly important when you send something out, when you create something, that you see what's working and what's not. Because here's the main thing that I see. I think a lot of people think that AI is strategy, and it's truly not. I think it's a great tool, but it is not a replacement for strategy. And it's not a replacement for insights and experience, too. I think it's going to continue to get better and better, and it's going to help you to leverage your time and do more things than ever before, but it should not replace you in terms of creativity and strategy. You should use it as a tool to make the things that you've imagined. We're getting very close to the point where you're going to be able to produce a Hollywood quality level video ad or content, but if you just let AI dictate what's it about, it's going to be very generic. Okay, so you are valuable, and if you're not, then there's really no point for us to keep working and listening, right? We're going to get replaced by robots. But I think that, especially with your experience, you need to be the director of strategy. You need to be the director of creative and treat this truly like an employee. So let's talk really quick what I think AI can tremendously help you for. It multiplies what you're already doing. And if you're creating great content, it's going to help to truly be a leverage point that gets it out there further. If you're doing bad content, it's going to help you make tons more bad content. So multiplier for sure. If your strategy is weak, it's not going to save you. Again, it's just going to multiply that. So if you have I think a clear strategy and a clear picture for where you want to go, it's going to help you just be tremendously more successful. I think you need to really consider this, that the better you are as a marketer, the better your AI becomes. That's 1,000,000% true. Just the stuff that I've been building out here for clients and things, we're building out highly complex funnels that would have taken months. We're building out pipelines and segmentation and tremendous amounts of highly valuable things very, very quickly that would have seriously taken months and quarters. And we're getting it done in days and weeks because the results are amazing. Conversion's incredibly high. Cost per lead is incredibly low. It truly is a superpower. And if you can leverage it by being a better marketer, you're going to have a far greater success rate. So I want to give you a challenge this week. And I'm hoping that when you're listening to these podcast episodes, you're actually applying the things that we're talking about here. And you're not just listening, not just using it as entertainment. There's far more entertaining podcasts out there. So use this, and here's next steps of action to take right away. Number 1, use AI to draft a newsletter that you send out next week. So edit it with your brand voice, your focus, and your call to action. And by the way, that's a big problem that I see when people send out newsletters. They send out a newsletter and it's like, we didn't get any appointments from our newsletter. Well, how did you tell them to contact you? Oh, we didn't put a phone number or a call to action button. Well, no wonder people didn't complete any call to action. So make sure that it is edited in your brand voice, has a focus and a call to action, and then track how it performs and see what you can do to improve it. But take those insights and learn from either the success or the failure. I have a prompt guide here that helps you to figure out what your focus should be. It helps you to figure out exactly how to create a prompt that's going to give you high quality outputs. And so if you would like that, head on over to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com, check out episode 295, and you'll be able to download that PDF for free. So check that out. And I really hope that you consider AI as the best marketing intern that you're going to ever hire. I think that's really the perspective that you need to have. It needs to be at your direction. You need to give it good insights and good direction. So if this episode has been helpful for you, I would highly appreciate it if you shared it with somebody who you think could benefit from this. Next week's episode is going to be great. We're going to be talking about how to create a client generation machine. This is going to be a fantastic episode. I'm really excited for it. I've been prepping for several weeks now, so it's going to be long and in-depth, but it's going to be great. So be sure to share this podcast with somebody. And I appreciate you. If you have any questions, comments, or need help with anything, reach out on veterinarymarketingpodcast.com, and I'll see you on next week's episode. Have a great day.